Hey guys, welcome back to the Monday video. So this week is all about crafts and I'm not that great with a hot glue gun. So I thought it might be kind of fun to show you guys some tips and tricks with cake decorating. My boss at Target taught me everything that I need to know about cake decorating, so I thought it might be fun to share with you guys some tips and tricks. So let's go decorate a cake. Okay, so step number one is to level your cakes. This part is super important because if you don't do that, then your cakes are gonna have like a big hump in them, but at Target, they already come sent to us leveled, so you don't really have to do that step. But today, since we're doing this at home, I just quickly made some cakes and I leveled them for the most part, so let's go on to the filling. Okay, so for the filling, I'm just gonna be using some frosting. I was way too lazy to make my own, so I just grabbed some from work. I personally don't like the buttercream, so I usually like the whipped stuff. Highly recommend trying it, it's a lot better. And then after you have your frosting, all you need is like a Ziploc bag, or if you have reusable bakery bags or cake decorating bags, those work great as well. And then the most important part here is probably this little part right here. So this is called a coupler, and this is the thing that you put inside the bag, and like you can attach different tips onto this. So this is a super important part. Okay, so you're just gonna wanna push the coupler all the way to the top of the bag. After pushing it all the way up, just cut off the tip of the bag and then push the coupler up so a little bit is showing. After this, just put the bag over your hands and then you can put in your frosting. After your frosting's on the bag, make sure to push the frosting all the way down to the end so there's no air bubbles left. It's somewhat level, but you can still see that there's a little bit of a hump. So I'm just gonna flip this upside down so we have like a flat surface to work on. And then I'm gonna be taking my bag here. You never wanna squeeze from the top of the bag. You always wanna cut it off somewhere in the middle. So you can squeeze it off like 3/4 of the way there. And then all you have to do is turn the bag with your hand and then you'll see like stuff coming out of the bag. So just make sure to also squeeze the top as well so stuff doesn't fall out of the top of the bag. But all you're gonna do on a Lazy Susan too, I'm sorry about that, is you're just gonna rotate. So put your hand at the top of the Lazy Susan and then start your cream here. All you're gonna do is squeeze here, just like in a round circle. That's all you have to do. And then what I usually do for this stuff, I just go in straight lines. And then you can squeeze from the top to get more, but you never want to initially squeeze from the top. You always want to squeeze from halfway through. So now since we have our cake with all of our filling in it, you're just going to be taking a flat edge. You can find this one at Michael's, just from DecoPack. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to scrape everything to the middle and try to get a clean layer of frosting in the middle. You're eventually going to have some stuff on your scraper, so don't forget to scrape that off. Using a clean scraper will just provide you with smoother lines. Okay, so the next thing that I did is I put the curved side of the cake down so I had a smooth surface to work on. Then I used a little bit of frosting to fill in the inside. When frosting a cake, I usually like to start at the top because if any of it rolls over, well, you're just going to be scraping the sides anyway. So I usually start at the top and then I work from the bottom up. So I always start on the very bottom, I fill in any gaps, and then I just work my way up. Okay, so now that the cake is all frosted, I'm going to use my scraper again to clean up the sides. I hold my scraper at like a 45-degree angle, which gives it a super smooth finish. I usually start with the sides and then I go to the top and then I go back to the sides until I get a smooth finish. A smooth cake should look something like this. Okay, so now that the cake is all smooth, I'm just going to be doing some designs now. So I'm going to be using a 48 tip, which provides straight, wide lines, and I'm just going to be putting it probably like a centimeter above the bottom of the cake. This just provides kind of like a shadow when you put your bigger border on. Also, when doing designs like this, don't worry about if it's straight because the big border is just going to cover up most of it. Alright, so next I'm going to be using a star tip or a 22 tip. So this gives the classic shell border. So I'm just going to be starting at the bottom of the cake and then I'll work my way up to the top. To recreate this border, you just kind of have to like squeeze and drag, but also pull up at the same time. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, but the basis of it is mainly just like squeezing and then dragging the frosting forward. Also super important to be working with cold frosting because as you can see, my frosting is melting. My kitchen is super hot right now, so my frosting is just gonna probably melt off. Okay, so I'm just going to be doing a little bit of writing. I'm using a 3-tip right now, which is a pretty small tip, but one thing to remember when writing on a cake is remember to section off a little part of the frosting bag. You have a lot more control when you're only working with a small portion of the bag. Okay, so as predicted, my cake started to melt, so I just quickly wiped the sides, rewrote Happy Quarantine, and then added some sprinkles. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.